Welcome to Scream Queen, a podcast about scary movies.
From people not typically depicted in scary movies.
It is actually scary movie season. It's October. Fuck what you heard.
What up? What up? It's my month, man, baby.
What's going on? What's happening? What are you watching? What are you doing?
I went ahead and just went through Nurse Ratched, and there's some great kills in it. I'd say that, but
it's Ratchet. It's not Ratched. How do you say that? The title
Ratchet,
infuriated me. Okay.
It's based on the nurse from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and then they expanded upon her, and so it gets into it. And then there's a queer storyline in it, and between Sarah Paulson and Cynthia Nixon, and there's a whole lot going on in it.
All right. Munch the box. I'm into it.
What you been watching?
Have you seen Utopia? I tried to get into Utopia.
I had a day where I sat and I ended up binge watching it. And I was doing things as I did it. And I never it was weird. I'm not saying I was completely drawn into the show, but I just felt like let me just go ahead and give it a go. Cause I really like Homegirl. Who was one of our Scream Queens.
Sasha Lane.
Sasha Lane. I was there for that. I was just watching Grosse Point Blank the day before, so it was funny that John Cusack popped up in it. And then Rain was funny in it. Rain Wilson did a good job. And I there were some great moments in it. Homegirl from Happy Death Day. She popped up in it. She was funny for it. Well. Yeah.
Okay, I have this question. Okay, so the main white girl with the blonde hair. I thought that was Jodie Comer the whole time.
That's Homegirl from Happy Death Day.
She looks identical to Jodie Comer to me. I was just like, she's doing a really good American accent on this one.
So, people just be blending together. What can I say? As low-key racist, but what you gonna do?
I couldn't, I honestly, I turned it on and I was like, all right, for the same exact reason. I was like, I saw Sasha Lane in this preview. I'm gonna see what this is. I don't know if it was the day or the time or what, but I just could not.
A lot of these things factor into it, honestly. My moods do affect what I watch. And there's, and I know you've had the experience of watching something in not the right mood and then going back to it later and you're like, holy shit, I just completely missed all of this, you didn't connect with it.
I think I wanted something a little simpler that day, and it was asking a lot.
That is not simple. There's a whole lot going on. That is not that.
No. It needs your attention, and you also you're not in the world. You're not in this world, and you're not in one like it. You're in something completely fantastical, and I appreciate.
I thought they did a good job. Well, I thought they did a good job trying to bring you into that world. I really did like the art of this graphic novel that's going around. It's this alluring thing, and it's hard to find, and the art, it had an H.R. Geiger, if you look at all the old references for the alien movies, the sketches, the art from the comic book reminded me of that, and just really kind of cryptic. I like that. What is it, Mr. Rabbit and all that shit? It's fun. I like that. I like that they made the effort to try to make this new world. Did it quite work? But is it I would say honestly, it's worth watching till the end because of where it goes. I would say that there's some stuff that happens
for the fences. Yeah. I like ambition, but you know what I also like? When all the fucking episodes are there, so you don't have to wait week to week like the goddamn boys. But the finale's coming this week, so I'm okay with it.
I'm glad that we're back to that because we're some greedy ass bitches who be getting everything we want whenever we want it, and then look what you turn into, people. You can be just like Teebs, just selfish.
Fuck you.
No, I low-key, because what was super rude that the boys did was that they initially for this second season, their first week was 3 episodes, and now week 3 is 1 episode. I'm like, no, y'all should have kept up the 3 episode a week, situation. That's what I was here for.
I'm
not here. Wait. I don't need to see Stormfront and Homelander fuck anymore. And it's boring as sex. It was fun the first time. The rest of these, they just fucking in the alley. I'm like, y'all just grinding against the wall.
When she said laser my tits, I was like, okay, yes, ma'am. But now it's like I've kind of reached my interest in your vanilla superhero Aryan Nation sex.
They're
I'm
so
sorry.
horrible. They're really bad, and like there's no sympathy for Stormfront. Like,
Oh no,
and
I want Stormfront to die in this next episode. Like if she doesn't die, I don't know what to do with myself because I'm just waiting for what's her name to get revenge for her brother. That's all.
I
That's all
mean,
I want.
that's what I hope. I'm sure that's where it's gonna be brought to. Like, Homeworld's gonna get her chance to get her, but until we get to that point, I don't know. Also, the like Lamplighter, what a wasted character, and like Huey or Hugh or whatever. I'm just like, ugh, what a dumb storyline. That was really
Mm-hmm.
boring. But
They watched so much superhero porn though. I was like, mm, mm, mm. Yeah, that
I
ain't the look for me.
I'm here for next or this week's episode. We'll see where it takes us. But
I
they need
also realized that okay, quarantine is weird and everyone is horny, but I have a big crush on fucking Jack Quaid, man. I just do. Like, not from the show, but there's an after show that's hosted by Aisha Tyler, and he's
yeah
just consistently charming as fuck
yeah
in as himself. And his mom's fucking Meg Ryan, and his dad is is Randy Quaid. So it's like, or Dennis Quaid, one of the Quaids, and
I
it's
didn't
so
realize
what.
he was a Quaid or whatever. That's funny. I just
And he's 6'1", so he's tall enough. I would let him mount me in a sexual manner. Basically, is what I'm trying to tell you.
pretty tall. I mean that you don't. You need to like make your selections more limited because you're just like you, Mike Myers, Jason, Leatherface.
I ain't fucking with the gremlin though. I draw the
Because they're
line
not
on the
over six
motherfucking gremlin.
feet. Because they're not
That's
over
what I'm
6 feet.
saying. That's what I'm saying. Anyway,
I'm
do you
glad you
want to
got
get
your
into
standards.
what we're talking about today? Today we've got Monsterland on the dock, which is a new anthology horror series on Hulu. And we're, of course, getting into the latest episode of Lovecraft Country. And we end this week with a little spree, which I was actually kind of into.
Yeah, it's fun.
It was good. And I liked having a Sasheer Zamata. I mean, she was playing a version of herself, like she was playing a comedian, but I like that she got her licks in. That's all.
Absolutely. She got hella licks in, and we will get to that. So you wanna
I can
lead us into
intro.
Monsterland?
Yes. Okay. So Monsterland dropped this month. Thankfully, all episodes, so we didn't have to like wait week to week like some regular ass TV watchers. Which is an anthology horror drama series created by Mary Laws, a TV writer who kind of came up in the playwriting world, and it's based on a short story collection, so kind of relevant to Lovecraft Country, but based on a short story collection, North American Lake Monsters Stories, by Nathan Ballingred, and each episode is its own sort of self-contained world, a la Twilight Zone, etc. Stars include Adepo Duye, who was in that lesbian movie Pariah in like 2011, which was really fantastic. Kelly Marie Tran, of course, Star Wars fame. My fave, Nicole Bahari. Like, I loved Sleepy Hollow. I loved her in Sleepy Hollow. They did her so wrong in Sleepy Hollow. She had to take years off from the industry and to like deal with like an illness and some other shit. Came back this year in Miss Juneteenth. Which came out this summer, which was really good. And each episode takes place in the title city where it takes place in, and it's places all over America. And it's basically about broken people dealing with loss, regret, loneliness, and making very, very bad decisions with a thread of something supernatural most of the time. Like, these aren't like scare heavy episodes. This isn't like it's billed as
No,
like a
it's real
horror
life
show.
horror. It's real life horror. I mean, and it's called Monsterland, so you think it's gonna be like something like over the top and mystical or whatever, but no, it's the shit we deal with in our lives, like our own personal traumas.
In that way, like Monsterland, Lovecraft Country. They are in the same realm. I mean, of course, Lovecraft Country has way more straight up horror in it, and the magicalness and the supernatural is more threaded consistently into Lovecraft Country. But like you said, it's more like the monsters are people. Like people are
Mostly,
monsters
yeah.
to each other. Like that's what it is.
What episode did you get to?
I watched them all.
Okay.
I
So then we can get through it. So yeah, because
I
they'll,
gotta say though, it was very depressing. Like
oh, super depressing.
it wasn't like a joy to watch, and I wasn't watching it
Even the
like,
last episode was just like, oh man, that was heavy. What the fuck? Like
yeah.
the New York episode with where the bird comes out of the dude's stomach at the end or whatever the fuck that was.
Oh yeah, the bird covered in oil inside of that, like the CEO. Well, that one was more straight up. There was like, I mean, that was The Exorcist, right? He even peed himself. Like, so he was like, he had like a demon inside of him. It was like this CEO who like oversaw this oil company that had this horrible oil spill, and he's like just basically a piece of shit that he gets like taken over by a demon. There was a little bit of gay shit in that one, I will say. There was a little bit of gay shit that I was into. But you know, he just kind of like, he's strapped to a chair and he like has this like the blood coming out of his face. That was a nice touch. Some of these, I will say that some of these
It was
visuals,
gross. I'm surprised you weren't more grossed out by this episode. That was a pretty
it was
nasty episode.
it was nasty. As a whole, I found that there were some very, very exciting novel visuals and some that seemed to be extremely recycled. I think the show is
Oh
kind
yeah.
of uneven, like
The show
episode to
was, yeah.
episode.
Yeah. They try to make a thread throughout the whole show. Because the girl who's featured in the first episode, she appears throughout several
Tori,
episodes
yeah, played
up
by
until the
Caitlin
very end.
Dever. Hmm.
Yeah. And she's um you know, and I was like, what does this have to do with anything? And it really ultimately doesn't do it. I think she kind of gives homeboy at the end some Mike Coulter, who played Luke Cage. She gives him some insight into something, but like it didn't really make sense. And she just straight up left her kid in that person's car. They don't
Okay,
explain
but I'm
why
not
her
saying
little girl is like that. They don't
the
get into
spawn of
it.
Satan. There was
They don't
very
explain
like the
it.
Babadook vibes. Like that kid was straight up that boy from Babadook, where I was just like, my worst nightmare too, sis. Like, but I was very, very impressed. I'm continually impressed with that actress. She was
Hmm.
in that one movie. Oh, not it was a TV show with Toni Collette and them. Um, Unspeakable or something like that. And she's so convincingly plays like carefree teenage girl and then also
She's in
woman tired
Booksmart
beyond her
too.
years.
That's what I
Yeah.
know her from. Booksmart. Yeah, I like her in that. Um, yeah, and
Also, shout out to Paymon and the New York episode. There was like there was a little nod to Paymon in that one. So you know, we come to talk about that shit like that. I have a Hail Paymon group text where anytime we see something Paymon, we text it to each other. So that's just shout out to shout out to Jenna and Fran.
I'm trying to think what other episodes stood out to me. There was, well, of course, the New Orleans episode was just like that was a
That
lot.
was oof. So
That
my
was
friend Chantal just sold a book called Post Traumatic. That's basically like the son as a grown up. It's kind of like her main character is kind of like that. Is somebody who survived sexual abuse as a child and like how that took itself out on her as an adult. And it's like that one was. I mean, none of them are like digestible and easy to watch, and that one was punishing. Like Nicole Bari with that ice pick.
oh Lord. Oh my God. I mean, any kind of puncturing, but you could feel that. I had to look away. I looked away a lot in this show. I mean, well, okay, 2 episodes, but I mean, that's more than I typically do. And so the New York episode where Homeboy was just all that bile was just coming out of his
Mm-hmm.
face. That was a lot. But her puncturing her eardrums, that was that was a punisher. That was fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, and the sort of the monster as being a kind of personification of her guilt at
Hmm.
kind of knowing and knowingly forgetting that her husband was a monster. Like her husband is literally a monster of a human being, and he like preys on children, and he's a doctor, and he wins their trust, and then he takes advantage of them, which is just like. Also, there's like a whole porn category like for that, where like doctors who have sex with their patients, and it's like this is a little. I don't know. This is why I be like his solo shit, where people tell me that I'm a bitch and they want to put their cum in my holes, and I'm like, yes, I do. But anyway, um
Oh Lord.
It's just some shit that I'm into.
Oh, okay.
But like it gave me shades of, what was it, me and Degao, the episode of Lovecraft
Of
Country
Lovecraft,
that
yeah.
was in South Korea during the war, because the mother in that is trying to get revenge for the daughter, because like she was married to a man who like sexually assaulted her daughter over and over and over again, and like the daughter finally says like he was preying on you because he knew you were a single mother and that you would let him get away with this shit. And that's kind of what happens in this in the New Orleans episode.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, there was it was a solid episode. Again, it was just depressing. But I thought
Mm-hmm.
it was really consistent. I thought the man playing the trumpet, I thought the music was awesome. I thought, yeah, there was just I don't I really bought into that. That could have been its own. They could have adapted that. That can be adapted into a movie if they wanted to and really expand upon it.
Do you, okay, here's the thing. This is why I don't normally typically read books of short stories, because it takes so much for me to get invested in one story and to like learn the world and the language of it and the characters. And then for just like a chapter later, I have to do the same thing all over again. And similarly, I kind of find shows like this to be exhausting in that way, where it's like you go through the motions to build a whole world, and then the next
And
episode
then
you
it's
do it all
over.
over again. And so that's why I think anthology horror as an episode isn't my shit as much as anthology
I want
horror
a
as a
series.
season.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
want a
yeah,
whole
yeah.
season. Yeah, yeah.
Because like
I
Channel Zero is
agree.
great, but can you imagine if each one of those Channel Zero seasons was just one episode? And it's
It
like,
wouldn't be. It wouldn't. Yeah, it wouldn't have the same effect. It just, yeah, it simply wouldn't. Because what an anthology can do is it gives you the opportunity to expand upon one episode and slice it into sections and to really delve into those parts. Um, and yeah, I feel like that's how a lot of stories need to be presented. They don't work in an hour, like in a 90-minute format, and they also don't work in a 30-minute or a 60-minute format. They need to be told over a certain amount of time. But yeah, that episode. Oh, okay, so after that was New York, and then What happened in Plainfield, Illinois? That one
Taylor Schilling, was that the lesbian
was that the bipolar
zombie one?
one?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
No, no,
yeah.
I think no, Iron River, Michigan. Was that, or no, was that the
No,
mermaid
Iron
one?
River, I was really excited about
The
Iron River
mermaid
because
one was
it's,
dope. I love the
yeah,
ending of the mermaid one. I thought that was wonderful. I thought that was really cool.
I did too. And I like, there was like some cool visuals in that. I thought I was most excited for Iron River, Michigan, because it was directed by Desiree Akhavan, who did uh Miseducation of Cameron Post, which also starred Sasha Lane, and she did Appropriate Behavior. She's a queer woman of color, and she was also in Creep 2, which was a series that I didn't really watch, but like I am aware of, the Duplass brothers. And it was one of my favorites, although it was the one with it was one of the shorter episodes, but I think it was also the one with like the least amount of like supernatural scary shit happening. Like it basically, it just the witch shows up in the last like 5-10 minutes of the whole episode to be like, you are in my cabin and I have this daughter, and there's like this mysterious woods where they like women go missing all the time. But I liked this episode because when Kelly Marie Tran and the other girl were like sitting in her room and like preening and like doing their hair, the girl takes her fingers and puts them into Kelly's mouth and
I
like
mean, so
wiggles
there
that
was.
dangly thing in the back of her throat. You know what I'm talking about? And she's like, what are you doing? She's like, training your gag reflex. And I was like,
I mean, all these things that were going. So clearly, she's hella gay, and she can't do that with her friends. So she adopts a new friend who she could do her hella gay shit with, and then, and then that's what you're starting to see in the woods when you kind of see what actually happened out there, and like it's because yeah, I think they kiss for like briefly, or because they and
she also makes her
I
go in the cupboard in the closet while she's having sex with her boyfriend, and I was like, "This is a little inappropriate, sis." Like,
but she wanted her to hear it or something.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. It was
yeah.
like hella gay vibes in that.
It was like, oh, you can't. She's like, oh, I can't go downstairs because my mom's down there. She's like, oh, well, I guess you got to go in the closet. I'm like, no, there's other places to
I don't
go.
think it's an either or situation. I don't think these things are like that absolute.
There are
But
other
you're right,
places
because
to go.
I guess I didn't pick up on that, but you're right, because when the two friends of hers, after Homegirl goes missing, and then like 10 years later, and she's getting married to Homegirl's ex-boyfriend, and they're kind of like, then all of a sudden one day she was just friends with this weirdo. And it was like, oh yeah, because she needed somebody who she could play spin the bottle with. Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Homegirl got captivated by that. I don't, what happened at the end? Can you explain the ending to me?
so okay.
She goes back to the woods, or she goes back and
On her wedding day, in her wedding dress, her mama just split her mouth open or whatever by slapping her, which that was a dick move, bridesmaids. Like, you didn't have to do that to her.
yeah.
Then she goes in the woods, she finds this witch, and this witch takes her back to the house, and the witch says that, like, I once was a girl too, and at a
Yeah.
certain point, a man brought me here, and I thought, you know, to do whatever, he left me here. I got frostbite, died, but like, she didn't die. She just became this witch in these woods, you know, as these witches in woods are typically depicted. And it's like ambiguous at best, and I think confusing at worst what actually happened. But I think
Mm-hmm.
what it was that, you know, Kelly's character was like in the woods after they smoke weed, and Elle or whatever was like, it was Lauren and Elle, that's right. So Elle was like screaming, and like she was being taken by something, and it was like, what she said was like, she was dead, and so she wasn't going to need her life anymore, so I wanted it. So in that way, I think like she made some kind of pact with this witch to like
Got you.
enchant her and to get her this Elle's life, to get Lauren Elle's life or whatever. But then it turns out that like the witch lady just took Elle as a daughter and like froze her vocal cords, and like the daughter just like does her bidding, has been doing it for 10 years, but still cares about her ain't shit
See
ass
that, and that's
boyfriend.
where that shit went like left. I'm just like, huh, what are you doing? And I remember like I looked away for like a few minutes, and I came back, and I'm like, she's running out of the woods in her dress, and then the end. I'm like, huh, like
And I
what the
think
fuck? And I
what that
saw that
was,
with the witch and her with no vocal cords and whatever. Hmm.
and so the witch was like, um, I'll trade you a daughter for a daughter. So she was
Yeah,
like, you know, this, like, Elle can leave, but Lauren, you have to stay. But I think what she just did was like switch their minds. So
got
Elle
you.
is now, Lauren is inside of Elle's body in the woods with her new witch
Oh, so
mama, and
she,
Elle is inside of Lauren's body running back to her wedding day.
okay, I get it.
I think.
Interesting. No, I think you're right. That makes perfect sense. And then we get into Homegirl from Pariah is in the
Mhm.
the final episode.
And Luke Cage.
Yeah, and Mike Coulter. So we get into that, and that turns out to be, this is the one where they bring in aliens, and their shit falling from the sky, and it's like hella like Close Encounters from the Third Kind, and then we got child abductions, and there's there's just it was not the note I was expecting the show to end on at all. It was sweet. It was really special, but it wasn't like, oh man, like who curated this?
There was a little bit of like a morality thing happening over the course of the show that I was kind of picking up on that I wasn't really into.
Yeah, and I was like, so they, certain people are showing up. Well, only one. I'm pretty sure it's only that one character shows up throughout those, certain things. But I was just like, they're not making it clear what the connection is, and I think they
Yeah,
wanted a connection between everything, and they just didn't quite bring that. I
yeah,
think
it
they
was.
needed to go heavier with it, honestly. If they're gonna, they only went like middle of the road, like they might as well just fucking just lay it on us.
Yeah, and it wasn't clear what the consistency of the sort of magic or spirituality, or like I was unclear about like the way that this horror supernatural stuff was, where it was occupying the real world, if at all. And so then it became just like, okay, so if these aren't connected, I did find myself drifting off a lot, to be honest with you, just because I was
Hmm.
like, these are long and sad, and there's like 35 minutes left, and I'm just like,
They
ugh.
felt long too. They felt long, which is not always a good sign. And I was
No,
just
it's
like,
not, because it's like somehow it's like building this whole world or whatever. It's like it's they just felt bloated. I was just like, I don't really think I need to pay attention to everything, because
they
it's
could have
not
been 30
actually
minute
gonna matter.
episodes. They could have been 30-minute episodes. They didn't have
Yeah.
to be that long. Like, yeah, I felt the episodes that were effective for me. I mean, even the episodes that I really liked could have been slimmed down. The mermaid episode would have been better if it was like 15 minutes shorter.
Yeah.
But I really did like what was going on there. And what other episode did I think could have been shorter? The
Yeah, here's my thing with this,
Plainfield,
and
Illinois one, with the Taylor
y-
Schilling one, Plainfield,
yeah,
Illinois.
I think one of the reasons why they felt long is because I just didn't feel like it cared if I paid attention or not.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't,
You didn't,
because it's
yeah,
like, am I gonna pay attention to this and try to figure out this world? But if nothing is connected, then I don't ultimately care. That's kind of how I came away with it.
right, right. And
Well, do you want to lead us into something that we did care about?
I mean, again, there's a few standout episodes. I'd say that the New Orleans episode is probably my favorite, followed by, I think it's the Texas episode. That's the mermaid one, followed by the. I wanted to get into the Kelly Marie Tran one, but that got all whatever. And then the final episode there's really fantastic acting in it. Like, one girl,
I will say that about this show, across the board, great performances.
really great performances from everybody.
Yeah.
From everybody. I was surprised by that. But it's just, yeah, it didn't quite match some of the storylines. But I understand, go in knowing that this show is not that uplifting, but there
I
are
saw
some.
I was gonna say there's the headline, I think, from like Wired magazine or something like that, that was like, it's not gonna keep you up at night. Like,
Yeah.
it's not scary. So
No, it's not. It's not. There's and again, you can, like, yeah, you can get through it. And I don't think it's terrible. Just it's not horror like you think. It is horrific in a way, though, because it's sad. Okay.
Right.
Main discussion part 2. We're getting into Lovecraft Country, episode 8, Jigabobo. And Lord, is that title? That is a loaded title. We had elements of Bamboozled up in here. If anybody's ever seen Spike Lee's film Bamboozled, there was there was just a lot to digest in this episode. Young D is getting chased. Well, we open with it's a what is the song? Let me get it right. Okay, we
Cruel
open
Summer.
with Bananarama, Cruel Summer, and the Emmett Till murder, and that turns out to be Dee's best friend. And I guess I missed that somehow, but
I don't think they told us before.
yeah, I don't think they ever said that. But yeah, he had a nickname, and I think they called him Bobo, actually.
Yeah.
But then you find out that her Bobo is Emmett Till.
Yeah, and there's just hordes of people outside in the blazing hot sun,
and they can
come view the body.
Yes. So Dee's standing outside, and people are coming in and out to view this body. And what we know about this is, in real life, Emmett Till's mother wanted everybody, all the viewers, to see what they had done to her son. So she showed they made him look like a monster. They beat him, bloody and to a pulp. But at one point there's like flies buzzing around, and people are walking, and Dee's like, "What is that smell?" And she's like, "Oh my God, that's him, isn't it?" And she can smell her friend decomposing in the air.
Shout out to Jada Harris as Diana, as Dee, because she was fantastic in this episode.
I mean, she's been consistent. She reminds me of me and the way I treat my mother. The love that she has and admiration she has for her mother, who now her intuitions are popping up. She's recognizing the same way her mother recognized, where's George? Now she's like, well, where's my mother? Y'all aren't telling me something's up. And so she, basically, before she even has a chance to venture off, she gets accosted by the goddamn cops, and they put a spell on her.
Motherfucking Lancaster, once again, his smelly ass.
Yes. And
Spits on her, and then some worms come out of the ground, and all of a sudden she's seeing these two.
They draw a thing on the ground. What's that thing called? It's called a
ass and titties.
The language of Adam, a protection symbol, and you trace around a location you'll cast the spell in. And so you start to learn about that, and also the cream of wheat guy is on the wall following her with his eyes, and like those, like that kind of symbolism, like very similar to like Aunt Jemima.
Mm-hmm.
But those eyes are following her around, and she's getting accosted by these men, and so she's tripping balls like throughout the whole show, and she's being chased by these two little girls. um what, like minstrel show, like, like,
Creepy ass hoes, just like,
yeah.
and
Well, it
she's
had
the only
the
one who
elements
could
of
see them.
Us. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who I need to look up the names of the young women who performed. They were amazing. They're so
Yeah, they
good.
were scary as fuck. I mean, this was kind of like of like, we've got elements of fantasy in some of these and like superstition, all this kind of stuff, and this was like more straight up horror. Like
Hmm.
this was like actually scary. And what I loved about it is like D, as we chart D throughout this episode, and her like trying to, like, her making it, like her understanding what's going on, right? As we do love main characters and as final girls in scary movies, there's the element of victimization, right, where they're like like they don't have any control over anything. They're trying to figure out what's going on. Everything's really weird and fucked up. Nobody believes them. Nobody's looking out for D. Like everybody fucking ignores her. Like
And that
Atticus,
was very
Letty.
much like Eve and Eve's Bayou, where she's like, y'all are fucking lying to me. And that's exactly what I was thinking. This is so much. I mean, Journey must have, I'm sure Journey recognized that as well. And it's consciously that I'm sure they thought of Eve's Bio as they wrote that episode, There was
Mm-hmm,
so
mm-hmm.
many elements like just implemented in there. Um,
And they had this like, she kind of like and like D is like a very resourceful young woman, right? Because like she understands what's going on, and then like gets on her bike and she's like gonna go do a stakeout, figure out where Lancaster is, follow him back to his place, try to get him to undo this shit. And then he was like, well, you have to do something for me first. And she was like, fuck you, pig. And then she decides to take matters into her own hands. I mean, I felt very much like this is like a Nancy in Nightmare on Elm
Nancy.
Street.
Yes, yes, yes.
Like that thing where she just like then D just locks everything down. She has her like pipe and she's luring the girls towards her and she's like, I'm gonna fucking take care of you. Cause like nobody's taking care of me. Like she has to take care of shit for herself.
Yes. And yeah, that I was struck by that. And everybody's too well. Okay, so you have Letty's character has been confronted by Gia. Gia just showed up on the doorstep to let them know like what her premonition. So Letty's too distracted to even realize that homegirl and D ain't acting right. Clearly,
Mm-hmm.
this chick, something's up. Somebody did something to her. Whatever the hell's going on.
And
Um,
nobody is like checking in on her in her grief either.
yeah,
Like she just lost her best friend in a horrific way.
they're
And like
too
Ruby's
preoccupied with
there.
love life and all these things. And but yeah, this young girl is literally dealing her father who died, a mother who's missing, a best friend who just was murdered. It's a lot. um and that didn't quite add up to me. I didn't quite understand that. um
Understand
i
what?
I mean, just the how they could just be so oblivious to her. It was very interesting.
Mm.
As if there was a spell on them. But
Right,
and
right,
maybe that was
right.
part of it. Um,
I think they're
I,
just used to other people being in charge of D. They're just
yeah,
used to either George or Hippolyta taking care of her. None of them really know what to do with her because they've never been in anything other than just like a supportive role, or
yeah,
like she does the cute car check-in or whatever, and like that's it. That's the extent to which they have interactions with her. And I think Ruby does make an effort in the beginning, but once D runs off, Ruby's also dealing with her own grief. Everyone
I
in
mean,
this
they're all
episode is
going
dealing with
through
it.
it. They're
Yeah.
all going fucking through it. I mean, it's still it's yeah, to just to know that I was that kid at one point, and it like hits a little closer to home. um Not, it's like even when the people around you that you trust and you love, like they can just overlook shit. Things happen. People get caught up in life. um we also had, well, I mean, not to jump too far ahead, but the culmination of what happens at the end with Christina Braithwaite. I mean, that is.
Okay,
insane.
but Ruby and Christina get into some bloody ass fucking sex. Like that was just
The most epic, perhaps that is one of the all-time most epic sex scenes I've ever seen. And
me.
you
Same,
know, and
same.
what she said was, you know, she didn't want to because uh, because today of all days, I didn't want to be a black woman fucking a white man. That's why I took the potion. And yeah, I mean, it was like when she comes out of like her like a butterfly out of her cocoon or whatever, you
When
know,
that
she
flesh is just like falling off of her face and like
of
her
her
titties and
back and
shit. Yeah,
just insane.
it was
I
grisly.
and then the conversation that they have and how Christina's just like, I don't give a fuck about anybody, you know, or anything, and I'm whatever with that little boy that got killed, and then what happens to Miss Christina, you know.
She that was first of
It
all
was
that was a brutal scene.
it was horrible. It was
Yeah.
really, really like, even for her trifling ass, like it was rough to watch that. I don't want
Look,
to see that. You don't want to see
she
that happen to
pays,
anybody.
yeah, so she pays these men to do to her what was done to Emmett Till,
Yeah.
basically. And
Yeah.
it's just like, uh, here's the thing though. Here's the thing. Monsterland is punishing and no fun. And love, I'm not saying that this scene was fun by any means, but Lovecraft Country, it has an energy and a momentum and a velocity and a level of fun to it that like when you look at like there's like the joylessness in something like Monsterland is like very palpable when you see something like Lovecraft Country, which is like there's still elements of adventure to it. You know, there's still like, you know, the girl overcomes the things at the end, like she sets it up and it just I feel like we're set up for an experience that is like
There is
difficult.
a moral to the story. Yeah, and a clear one. It's concise. And yeah, it just the things matched up better with versus, you know, the way Monsterland, it's just kind of, I don't, they're going for one thing, it's not quite that thing. And I think that's the wrong title, Monsterland, honestly, for that show. But
Hmm.
I um I doesn't I don't know. I by the end of this episode, I mean, I'm not saying I felt more for Christina or anything like that, but I'm glad she put herself through that to experience it. I mean, that's a pretty fucking brutal way to do it, but I'm
Hmm.
glad I'm glad in a way they put that out there. You know, they just to let us know, let people know what happened, what that young boy went through.
But she still has the invulnerability spell, the Mark of Cain on her, which
Hmm.
earlier Letty trades the negatives to the Book of Adam or whatever, some of the pages in the Book of Adam to Christina if she'll make Tick invulnerable. And instead, Christina does it for Letty. So now Letty has this Mark of Cain, right?
Hmm.
And I don't think she understood what it meant at first. But then when Lancaster and them show up at her house, they try to get in, but they can't because she has that little mark of protection on it. So Lancaster can't. So they just decide to fucking light this house up, right? They're gonna put bullet holes all over this place, try to kill everybody. And Letty starts to realize that the glass from the windows and the bullets are having no effect on her. They're just
Yeah,
like bouncing off. And she's just
yeah.
like, oh, wait a minute. Am I a bad bitch?
That
Like,
shit
am
was
I?
dope.
Yeah, I loved that. And her sort of understanding that like that mark actually means that she can't be hurt. It like reminds me of like somebody like Jessica Jones in that show on Netflix, which is like
On Luke Cage or Jessica or Daredevil or
she was it was a part of that whole Marvel. There was like four shows and they became the Defenders at a certain point, but it was Jessica Jones.
yeah.
And what happens to a woman when she's not afraid of being hurt? You know, when
Mm.
she doesn't feel like she's in physical danger. And so like I feel like I just want to see what's Letty gonna do next. Like, because now Letty knows that she can't be hurt. What's she gonna do?
We shall see. She's gonna
Because
fuck
she
up
was ready to
Gia.
run after Tick
She gonna fuck
after
up
because like
Gia and Tick.
mm, mm.
And
I
Gia go.
mean,
Oh, and then I was wondering, like, so when the first thing that came to my mind was, so when can Gia whip them things out? And it's only when she's turned on. So basically, she
mm.
got to be like rubbing her titties and doing all kinds of things to get them things to come out. Pinch your
Her
nipples like.
foxtails. Her foxtail, man. I cannot like. It's like, why does the first place the foxtail got to go up the man's butt? Like it was like, he was like, oh. But anyway. Also, Montrose does try with D. And he's like, he's trying to get her, like he's banging on the door, and what does he says something like, they're never going to stop coming for you, so don't make it easy for them, or something like that. He's like
as
telling
she's
her that,
watching the Uncle Tom's Cabin book turns evil on her, and like that
and
little
then those two girls come out of the book, and
uh,
then yeah.
or like their faces like any, and also that was very Tales from the Hood, like all like the faces, like oh man, that was all that was missing, was just like my favorite is just the little niglets when they come out of that. My favorite shit ever. Oh man, we need to watch
We
that.
will at some point.
Yes.
Then I think we do get, I think in this episode, because I think Montrose is trying to make up for, or in a like not in a subconscious way, trying to make up for how he fucked up with Tick by trying to at least be there a little bit for D. And then we do get a scene with Montrose and Tick reconciling, where Montrose is basically like, if they're gonna try to kill you, I'm all in. Basically, Montrose is like, I'm all in. I don't want to watch my son die. I'm doing. And we learned that Tick, when he went through the portal, he actually went into the future. He found the Lovecraft Country book that
he
was
brought it back, and it's written by his
son.
son. Yeah.
And so Montrose is like, I don't want anybody coming for my son or my grandson. Like, I'm all in. So I think that was like, I'm glad we got to this point with Montrose, because I was ready to write his ass off.
I know they didn't have him looking too good. But finally, I'm glad they were able to redeem his character, because he's just Michael K. Williams. You know me. I just love him, and he can't do any wrong in my eyes. But we got 2 more episodes left. I am upset and excited. I don't know where this show is going to take us.
We get the preview, or what they said in this episode, because they were like, what's going to happen, and it's like on the autumn solstice or some shit, Christina is going to sacrifice Tick so that she gets immortality. So that's what we're looking forward to. And I think that's the fight that everyone's getting ready for, right?
I think so.
So maybe we'll see Gian there with some cattail come out of coochie trying to get Christina ass. And then maybe we'll see like Ruby flesh come off her. Maybe Hippolyta comes back like fucking all powerful. I'm thinking
Hippolyta is going to come back as some all-knowing, all-being entity. I don't know what it's going to be. It's going to be beautiful though. And Beyonce is going to come back up in there. Beyonce. She'll be up in there with that afro and the platforms. And
I just want to see Hippolyta give somebody ass whooping. Like, I just want to see her laid on somebody.
I can't wait. I can't fucking wait. Yeah, I had another story I was going to put in here, but I'll just share it. I'll give you another reason why I identify with D so much. When I think about D, like like the episode where she made it a point to let everybody know that her mother named a constellation. That's my mom up there. Do you know my mama's name? It was named for her. Well, I've always like been the one to like overstate things for my mother, but I remember there was in middle school, they had to bring food from your culture to school day, and it was just like it was a wide variety, a lot of German food, but a lot of schnitzel and shit. But I remember there was also I brought peach cobbler. My mom was like, I can make that. That's easy. That's simple. I'll just bring that in. And I just happened to be standing nearby where these kids were fucking with the food, and they like picked it up and they like used like the spoon, and they like, ew, what's this? And I proceeded to like explain to them, and I broke it down to them. And because my mom was because she was standing nearby too, and she kind of heard it. She didn't care, wasn't bothered. I'm like, no, you will not disrespect that food. If you want some, you can be polite and have some, but otherwise you can walk away from this table. I'm like, but yeah, do not disrespect. That is peach cobbler. It's probably too good for you, basically. But yeah, that was my D moment. So respect to D. Looking forward to seeing what she has to bring. And yeah, I'm just really excited for these Black characters, these Black women.
Good job. I was so excited to watch fucking Lancaster die by one of those vampire like Mr. Potato Head looking asses. Yep. Got that. So like, does that mean that the thing that the curse is broken with D now that he's dead? Is that what happened, or does she still see the 2 little girls?
No, no, I'm pretty sure it's broken after that because since he was the one to cast it, I mean, I would assume that, but maybe not.
I hope so.
I mean, oh, okay. I hope a bitch not under. Oh God, I called you a bitch.
But you know, in an affectionate way,
In an
because like,
affectionate way. I just
bitch
hope a
can mean
bitch
so
ain't
many
under a
different things.
spell.
You know, bitch can mean so many different things. You'd be like,
Yeah.
ooh, bitch. Or you could be like, bitch. Like,
Bitch. It's all good coming from me, honestly. You know what it is. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Our Scream Queen of the Week is Miss Sasheer Zamata.
I have faith in you, baby.
As Sasheer Zamata as Jesse Adams in Spree. And woo, this movie is not what you'd expect. Well, I didn't, you know, actually, based on the trailer, it's exactly what you'd expect, but I didn't know that anything like this was coming out, and I'm really happy it did. And just like Host, they did something really creative with social media platforms and made that shit way more interesting than it actually is.
Yeah, because we didn't get any cameras. We didn't get any steady. We got like cameras from inside the car. We got surveillance footage. We got footage from social media, but there was never like the conceit of there's like a cameraman at all.
No. And which adds to the suspense. Because you're looking at two people's different perspectives as they're going through their days, and then they'll mash it up, and you don't know when well, basically, let's go back. So we have this teen, and he's obsessed with social media and all that and the whole culture, and he wants to be known, he wants to be famous, and it ain't happening. So he decides to use this new platform and basically just start killing people in his Uber rides, and as he goes and filming it. But nobody, still, even as he goes on this spree, nobody is like, he has no followers, which makes it even matter. And then he happens
more
to pick
desperate,
up more desperate. He picks up Jessie Adams, played by Sasheer. She's a famous comedian. I mean, you know, so she's basically just playing like a slightly more more elevated character version of herself, but she's basically just playing herself, and which is fun. And because her attitude and her whole spontaneity is just all this movie needed. And she really does. They really give her the opportunity to read these characters. Like, she's not mean to him. Like, she just sees the desperation.
She's never cruel. She's never unnecessarily like she's never she I mean, she tells people who they are.
Yeah,
but
she
lets
Fuckboy know about himself, and before he gets run over by the car. But she's like, hey man, like, nobody says that shit in real life, like what you just like, follow me and all that.
Yeah,
like,
she was just like, tone it down a little bit. Just tone it down. Nobody says follow for follow. It's good. Like,
no.
And even during her comedy set, she doesn't like call him out his name or nothing like that.
I mean, when we get to that point, you know, we come to like see what happens with that. But he goes off. He like comes up with this. It's pretty like fucked up how it works, because he'll upload these videos and like tutorials on like how to poison water, and then he'll put it all on YouTube. And then, like, you see, he has like 80 bottles of water that he just injected and then put hot glue to seal it up again. And then he gives it out to his customers. But what makes it fun is that his first two customers are assholes. One of them is a white supremacist. The next one is like this little shitty gentrifying landlord or realtor or whatever. So it's like, fuck him. And then the third guy that gets killed, he's a douchebag, like total like date rape vibes.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't really feel bad about these people that he's going after until he really wants to know Jessie Adams. And he basically, you think at one point he's about to show up at her house, and the way the editing works, and it's like, and I was watching this movie like broad daylight, but just to think, oh my God, he's about to show up at her doorstep right now. And you just don't know. And then it cuts to, and it's totally different situations happening. And they're having his night is going one chaotic way. He's having a complete manic episode. He's not even on drugs. He's just completely manic and out of his mind. And I don't know if, you know, they have that one scene at one point, he's driving south on the North Freeway, and they don't really explain if that's real or not. And, you know, if that's really happening in his mind or if that's happening in the world. And then,
I mean, his drug is the internet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that really fuels his mania, his depression, his like his like jealousy, his like inferiority complex. I mean, it's completely driven by the fact that he wants to be seen and nobody cares. But like, he also hasn't done anything. And when he asked Jessie, like, how did you grow your following? And she was like, I'm fucking funny, dude. Like, she actually has a career. She's not internet famous for the sake of being internet famous. People have taken a shine to her because she's really funny. Like, she didn't like come up with a social media strategy to be famous.
She's not trying. Yeah. It's she's being herself, and people happen to like that. But he latched onto an idea of he's creating a false persona. None of these things that he possesses. And it's just not good for him. Social media is just not good for him. And for a lot of people,
is it good for anybody is the thing. Yeah. It's like, who is this good for?
It's insane. And there's some people who really, really need to stay the fuck off of it. It's just not good for your mental health. If you're having any mental health issues, get the fuck off social media. I promise. Like, a lot of that will just dissipate. Like, at least 20% of it will dissipate. Promise.
Like, it just keys up that part. I feel like it just keys up the part of you that's like unstable, or like, I like got off Twitter because I was just like, first of all, I don't need to go into a panic attack first thing every single morning. Second of all, like, I just don't care. Like, I don't care, but I'm being made to feel like I should. And that's when I was like, I don't need to do this anymore. And I have not regretted it since. I have not like come back to it or like whatever. And not that like I care if people relapse on Twitter, but it's just like, once it was not in my world anymore, everything was quieter, and I actually started writing again. And I was like, oh, I was so busy online that I wasn't even doing the thing that I'm good at. Like, I wasn't doing the thing that's my superpower,
Yeah, all that shit on Twitter is temporary. And the things you're writing and working on or creating, that's the long-term stuff. That's the stuff that's going to keep you, moving and motivated. All that shit online is, go ahead.
When I told you, I was like, when you were like, oh, when you first said, let's do Spree. And I was like, okay, yeah, I kind of got a little crush on Joe Keery. And you were like, I don't think you will after this movie. And I still do. It's been a while since I got it in. So I was just like,
you like acne and friggin' sweaty ass looking boys. Ugh.
Yeah, no, he's completely unhinged looking. That's not the person I was interested in. Also, fucking David Arquette as his fuckboy daddy, that was fucking hilarious. And then that influencer, and he tried to hook up with this influencer, and like she ends up wanting to go get like LA tacos, and so then she drinks the water and then like seemingly dies, and then the cops come to the door, and then she kind of comes back to life and then just starts shooting at the cops.
She I don't know how she went, like the way she grabbed for the gun didn't even make sense, but anyway, it was so stupid, but it cracked me up. She just wakes up and shoots the cop in the fucking head, and then just runs off, and you're like, okay, bitch. And so it was moments like that, and then you just never know where the story's gonna end. And then they make, so like homeboy, his whole goal is to make it to her show. She's having a big comedy show, and he thinks if he gets there, then he can get followers too. But when he gets there,
I think he plans to kill her, right?
Oh yeah, he's gonna kill her. And well, he wants to be friends, but he also wants to kill her. Yeah. But he basically, he gets there, and she proceeds to talk about him, but in like a really kind way. Like, and then proceeds to jump off the fucking of social media. She's like, fuck this and fuck my phone. And she breaks her phone on stage, and she's like, fuck all y'all. This is not what I'm doing. This is not why I do this.
And I think the reason why like her criticism of him is so genuine is because she was like, I was looking at this dude and he was desperate for followers and like desperate to be seen. And I realized that was me, And so like, if the thing is, if you read other people, you better be able to read yourself too. And she was like, and it was
her character is likable. Yeah. I really like that they took time with her character. Like, her character never wavered. She had a cool ass relationship with her grandma. Like, that was really sweet. And like, they just brought you into that life, like that world, just for a second, just to give you like an understanding why she's so grounded. And then Kyle Mooney's fucking hilarious in it. And he did the typical like douchey San Diego.
I mean, he's a piece
LA,
of shit
bro,
in this movie.
bro.
Like his character.
But he nailed it. He nailed the douchey bro thing going. That SoCal, whatever the fuck that is. It was very funny.
What did you think about the end? Because when he calls that car for her and she gets into it, and then we turn around from the front and we see that it's Joe Keery's character. I forget his name.
I mean, I knew
I was like,
what was about to happen. I knew it was gonna be him, and so what I didn't expect was when they get to the house, and then you find out that he killed his mother earlier in the movie, and then Dad comes out all strung out. What'd you do to your mom? And then that whole mess. And it was done super fucking well, and
I
only
loved
the
the
part
way
that
she took
really
him out.
the part that really was like, I was like, oh, how dare you? When because they basically, one thing they do successfully, people were like telling her to like, oh yeah, go look at his face, give us a picture. This, you'll get more points for this or whatever. You'll get more or like Reddit likes or ups or whatever, upvotes. And so she's like, okay, and she like lifts his like bloody head. I'm like, snap. But she smashed the fuck out of him and crushed him, like his face in. Like, it was awesome.
And she drove him against the wall. Like, I love the way she took him out. Was like, yeah, that's like classic.
First, when she's outside of the car, and then somehow, and then he has her in that field, and he's gonna run her over, and then she distracts him or something, or his phone distracts him, and she disappears, and then she's in the fucking car. They just did all these things so fucking well. It was really fun. And again, because of the cutting in and cutting out, you don't know who's close to who. You don't know when somebody's if they're dead or not, and then all of a sudden, like, you'll see their battery life show up on the screen. You're like, oh, this character came back to life. They're back in the movie. It was totally worth it. I'm gonna see it again. I've watched it twice.
Me too. I watched it like 3 times. I thought it was so fun, and I was like, all right. And I have a movie day on Friday with my friend Roy, because I really I want him to watch it. But I didn't tell him I already saw it. So
oh, he don't need to know. We can do that cute line that we do to each other. Oh, I didn't see it.
This is the first time I've seen Us. That was like one of my favorite theater experiences. After Dre and I saw Us, and we came out of the theater, and we were like, yeah, I like that. And she was like, I got to confess, that was the first time I saw it. And I was like, me neither, bitch. But we didn't tell each other that beforehand, which I think I think that's a kind way of being in the world. I think that basically means you're a humanitarian.
We are. That is my humanitarian work. I will put that down. Thank you very much. What up, Queens? Don't forget, we have a Google Voice number, and we want to hear from you. What's the scariest you've ever been in the theater? What happened? Paint us a picture. We want to know. And you can reach us at 619-289-9052. Okay? Like, we really would love to hear about you guys and get all up in it. And make hella fun of you and shit, cause
right, Scarface.
All family. That ain't Scarface. That's Rosie Perez's shit, bitch. Why is everything gotta be?
Will you give us that number one more time?
619-289-9052.
All right. Catch us next week, same time, same place. What we're getting into, we're not really sure yet, but it's gonna be some bullshit, and it's gonna be some fun, because you know who you're talking
to. Scream Queen is produced by Alexander De Palma and Domino Sound,
with theme music by Doc Allison.
I am Drea. Wait, I need to end that. Sorry. We can start from there, so we wouldn't have to worry about it. What am I? I am Drea, about to turn 35 up in this bitch. What up, Washington? Made it another year. You can find me on the gram at Hey Girl Hey. That's HeyGrlHey.
I'm Tommy Teebs, still missing sucking dick Pico. You can also find me on IG at Hey Teebs, HeyTeebs.
You can find us on the gram at Scream Queen Podcast.
And online at screamqueenpodcast.com.
Send some love notes at to screamqueen@gmail.com. That's SCREEEM queen@gmail.com.
And in the scary movie of your life,
you better fucking better. Scream Queen. Perfect.